Our urban strategy project is called Union Reimagined and is based in Stonehouse, Plymouth. Before we dive into the analysis and work of our urban agenda, we take a look into the emerging themes that came to be in the previous projects. Starting with Project Zero and examining the 3 different pieces of work, we come up with various key themes that represent our ways of thinking. These key themes can be summarized in the following words: climate change, urban landscapes, propinquity, palimpsest, biophilia, nostalgia, the long now, utopia, identity, home, and displacement. These key themes helped us move on to our next project, which focused on us creating 2 3-minute films in 2 different groups. Our films focused on the disconnections that exist throughout Stonehouse and the changes it has faced and will be facing in the future. Additionally, both our films incorporated interviews we took on site from locals and visitors that help us get a better understanding of what people think of Stonehouse. Moving on, we took a look at the work the 3 of us are doing in our dissertations and witnessed 3 different themes, each focusing on a different scale and looking at issues such as urban design, environmental aspects, and human connection to place. Having taken a look back, we begin with our analysis. Our site is one of the neighborhoods currently comprising the city of Plymouth in Devon, UK. Stonehouse is an area of rich and long history that helped shape the wider city as it is today. In our eyes, Stonehouse is comprised mainly of a north and south side. The north is surrounded by other neighborhoods, while the south is surrounded by water. Separating the two, Union Street, set in the middle, allows for people to move through the neighborhood in order to reach other destinations.
Once we had identified the common themes and identified Stonehouse as an area of interest, we went on to identify the key issues around the site. The most prominent issue in Stonehouse being labelled as one of the most deprived areas in Plymouth and the UK. Alongside this was an above average unemployment rate and demise of businesses. We also found that there is a clear lack of adequate surgeries to support the social issues. We categorised these issues into 3 key problems, the first being the community isolation across the site. This has developed from Union Street forming over the years to create a divide between the north and south residents. Even within the north and south, there are further isolated pockets that struggle to work cohesively with one another. Another issue is the landscape disconnection. There are limited areas in Stonehouse where one can reach a shoreline, and on top of this, Stonehouse has one of the least amounts of green spaces. With our master plan set in the year 2100, the former Stonehouse Creek will be reflooded again to the former natural landscape and allow a distinct connection to the water for the north residents. Finally, we looked at networks as divisions, looking at how Union Street's clear path from east to west has created divide from north to south. There is currently no clear road or footpaths that join the north and south communities together. Alongside this, there is a lack of infrastructure at street level, such as lighting and seating, that could all invigorate new energy into the area. After identifying 3 key issues, we started to consider what programs and catalysts would be needed to bring our site to life. Focusing on health and well-being became the clearest path forwards, which would best tackle the issues previously discussed, such as the disconnected pockets of communities. Our urban agenda divides into 3 scales, metaphorically responding to Sarah Wigglesworth's work. The urban planning scale is represented by the lay of the table, which presents an architectural ordering of place, status and function. She calls this a frozen moment of perfection. The second stage presents an occupation of space over time. For us, this represents the connection to and between the urban and natural landscapes. The analysis of how those landscapes have been used is represented by the trace, which shows the palimpsest of impacts created by the human body. It presents the reality of spatial production imposed on the architectural ordering.
The urban agenda aims to emphasize and revive the historical presence which has shaped today's Stonehouse. The map identifies these key areas of Union Street, Historical Railway, the Stonehouse Creek, Millfields, Royal William Yard, and the Barracks. Due to the close proximity to the sea and the low topography of Stonehouse, this area of Plymouth is vulnerable to sea level rise and the increased rainfall as a result of climate change. The map identifies the impact of a 3-metre sea level rise, which our futuristic urban agenda is based around. This map analyses the impact of the climatic changes on the historical fabric of Stonehouse. The Union Street, which caused the north-south divide of the area, has broken down, and together with the reintroduction of Stonehouse Creek, connected the divided communities, giving them a direct link to natural landscape. We explored different spatial qualities which helped to reimagine this new edge of urban and natural landscape. Our urban agenda presents a reimagined union that engages with local community, the social and economical needs, and most importantly, their well-being. The collage consists of a number of precedents which prove their success in other locations around the world. These include the Chicago waterfront, the New York High Line, Gabriel's Wharf, and community outreach places such as Bromley by Bow. This urban agenda brings together social, economical, and environmental aspects into one, giving the community areas where different types of wildlife thrive in marine environments such as salt marshes. This strategy incorporates leisure areas such as urban beaches, which can be enjoyed by the residents, who may also participate in horticulture and aquaculture that creates a deeper connection with landscape. Art promenades, transportational links, and new industries unite the urban environment at different scales.
We introduced 3 key solutions to our earlier identified problems, the first being urban networks that look to define the newly found connections from north to south. On top of this, public footpaths have been added around most of the water's edge, leading to landmarked areas. Community rehabilitation looks to break the isolation of communities by introducing new key areas that will include the likes of community centres and workshops for all residents. This will also look to develop areas close to the water's edge. Finally, landscape connection will use the natural surroundings for the site's benefit with the water, providing sustainable aquaculture and the climatical elements allowing horticulture throughout Stonehouse.
These interventions would be implemented on an 80-year timeline that would allow for community engagement and a bottom-up approach to take place. The urban strategy would focus on outreach centers, training and workshops, creation of live-work communities, linking with the rest of the city and its organizations, along with key infrastructure projects. 2020, the communities would be approached and discussions would be held in order to understand what residents need in the area. By 2050, the communities would be in charge of the changes happening, having been through their initial funding and development. Additionally, larger-scale built interventions would begin taking place. By 2080, many of the major built changes would take place, along with rearranging the area for environmental interventions. Finally, by 2100, the final connections and infrastructure elements would be created and finalized in order to help spread the urban agenda to the rest of the city and the surrounding neighborhoods. Now our master plan would be complete and ready to evolve further.
Our field of operation concentrates on 3 historically rich areas. Located on the edge of Mill Bay Cove, the site of Plymouth's first railway aims to reinstate its presence by providing a sustainable connection to Stonehouse. Central area evolves around the Union Street Promenade. Building upon its rich history in arts and theatre, it aims to rehabilitate the community. The area of Millfields engages with its medical background, focusing on the well-being of the community, connecting to urban and natural landscapes. All 3 areas act as a catalyst of our urban agenda.
At the urban scale, the train station will wider connect Stonehouse to Plymouth, providing suitable access for residents and visitors alike, and will form new infrastructure into the site. The street level will connect people to the water's edge whilst waiting for the train, thus resulting in people being able to discover and explore new possibilities.
On an urban scale, the Palace Theatre would create a major landmark that would visually connect the area to its surroundings. On a street scale, the theatre's east facade, overtaken by water, and the creation of promenades would allow for people to gather round and enjoy the waterfront and cultural activities. On a human scale, people would be able to link mentally to their past history, along with making new mental connections to their natural surroundings.
At an urban scale, the area of Millfields, which currently acts as a separated island, opens up to the surrounding communities. Community health and well-being is addressed through the medical presence on site, as well as connection to urban and natural contexts, where users may enjoy the landscapes through activities such as aquaculture, creating places of identity.